Call the meeting to order. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everybody. If you've got a cell phone, please put it on silent. We'll now take a minute for a moment of silent prayer. Okay, thank you. Okay, so roll call. We're starting with myself today. Mike Smith is here. Mr. Dove?
Here.
I think it's early.
Let's not get started.
Mr. Culberson?
Here.
Here.
Okay. And I believe Commissioner Reed is on our way here. So, public comment. Anybody in the public out there who wants to speak? Of course. Come on down. You know the routine. 5 minutes and give me your name.
You're the next contestant.
Good morning. Paul Cromer, 131st Street, Leavenworth, Kansas. I just had a couple things I want to go over real quick. We've been talking about books the last 2 weeks. Last week a man said books can be scary, and I agree with that statement. I would hope everyone remembers the classic by Hans Christian Andersen, The Emperor's New Clothes. It was about an emperor who was dazzled by a tailor with a new set of royal garments. The material that he used was so special and rare you couldn't even see it. All the emperor's most trusted advisors knew that he was being swindled by the tailor, but everyone was afraid to speak the truth. They did not want to be the only ones to stand up and say this is a bad idea. They were in fear of what their peers would say about them on social media. They focused on not rocking the boat, even though everything inside them was telling them to say something. So they just went along with it and encouraged the emperor. Finally, a young boy told the emperor, "You're not wearing any clothes. I'm here to say that this county, this state, and this country has to learn to stop spending taxpayers' monies in such foolish ways. In this county, we are entertaining RHIDs that will take tax revenue and use it for housing infrastructure. We are entertaining bringing another property tax exempt entity, the Kansas City, Kansas Community College, to the area. This community college will also need local funding, which will come at the taxpayers' expense. According to the Kansas Department of Administration, KCC constitutes 16% of Wyandotte County property taxes. Once again, we need industrial and commercial growth to offset all these property tax exempt entities prior to adding more of them. How much longer will we be able to keep funding Meals on Wheels, to keep the museums and cultural centers operating, not to mention just the basic functions and services of our local governments? The people cannot take much more taxation. In an attempt to grow our county, we are actually harming the very citizens that make up Leavenworth County. I challenge you to be forward thinkers for what is truly best for your constituents. Let's not be so focused on our potential new clothes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Go to administrative business, Mark. Okay. Just I'll bring this up. I'll bring on one later. We had a joint meeting with the city of Lansing last Thursday, and there was 2 county commissioners that showed up. One sitting to the left of me. Commissioner Stephen did call in. You know, board, and I know things came up, and I sure got a call from Commissioner Culberson and Commissioner Reed, but you know, these are important things to be attending so we can have that eyeball-to-eyeball contact. So I'd encourage everybody that when we set these meetings up, if the time doesn't work right for us, let Mark know. And I know, Mike, you had made a mention, but I was really disappointed. It was a good conversation about a lot of issues. Some we agreed on, some we didn't, but it was the dialogue that we had that helped us quite a bit. With that, I'll pass it on to Commissioner Dove. You have anything?
I don't have anything to add, with the exception of that
being with these individuals and getting to see them face to face puts another light on every subject that we attempt to make a decision on. So I'm just encouraged by that, Mike, and I appreciate you setting it up. And individuals who were there also said that thank you for being so involved, involved and open. Thank you. I appreciate make that work. Thank you.
You have anything else, sir?
Nothing else.
Commissioner Culberson?
No, I don't have anything.
Mike?
Couple things. Follow up on last week's meeting. I had an article with the abortion rate in Kansas. Abortion rate significantly increased in 2023 compared to 2022. Kansas Department of Health and Environment reported a 58% increase in abortions, with a total of 19,467 abortions compared to 12,312 in 2022. This increase is the highest total the state has ever reported since it began tracking abortions in 1976. So that the lady that administered the Title X program last week, she stated that there hadn't been an increase in Leavenworth County abortions, but that is in state. These numbers reflect the vast inflow of out-of-state abortions that are coming in from Texas and Missouri. So there has been a tremendous increase in Kansas.
Wait 1 second. Welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Hi, Vanessa.
We know things happen. We have a full.
Now the party can start.
No. Okay, go ahead. Anything else, Mike?
Yeah, the second thing, I don't know if Vanessa got one of these or not, but I provided you a copy of a proposed policy on parental involvement and compliance with Title X regulations pertaining to abortion counseling and referrals. I'd like to put that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now to be discussed, following up on the meeting with the health director.
Commissioners?
I think it makes sense for us to discuss it.
I'm for it.
Okay. On discussing this, and I'm Misty looking at this, I would look at, there's a couple things in there that I want to make sure what we're doing is not going against what the state law says. So we'll schedule it. Everybody's okay with that. We'll schedule it to come up. Jeff, you're all right putting it on discussion? Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll have an opportunity to go over this.
Which particular items are you pointing out that we need to make sure that we're not going against state regulations?
Well, anything that's written on it, because I know we're given somewhat of a policy. I want the policy to make sure that it doesn't counter what the state has said. County can set up any kind of policy they want, but I just want to make sure we got, when we're talking about this, I'm glad you gave it to us. We can talk about it in a couple of weeks, but we can have full understanding of what we're looking at to pass. That's all.
And I did communicate with the county councilor and provided her a copy of this
good.
Ahead of time.
Okay, good. Well, good?
Good.
Okay. Vanessa, did you have anything? I went over you since you weren't here.
Thank you.
But I will come back to you.
I appreciate your patience with me this morning. I might need a little patience for some weeks. One of my family members that I'm responsible for has a couple broken vertebrae and rib, and so it's just a little bit extra
again.
for a while.
It's not your hubby
so.
again, is it?
Huh?
You didn't let your hubby ride a motorcycle again, did you? Okay.
No, I've told him no motorcycles ever for the rest of his life, so.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else, Vanessa?
No.
Okay. Okay, I think we'll move along. Consent agenda?
Commissioners. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as provided.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? I'll start with aye.
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 All righty, very good. Former board action. Consider a motion to approve the bid for Reese Construction Company Incorporated and issue the notice of award for the replacement of bridges SH 54 and SH 61 in the amount of $1,582,437.21. Morning, Bill.
And 21 cents.
21 cents. I got that in there.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today for your consideration is the acceptance of the low bid by Reese Construction. These structures are both located on Golden Road. These are part of a grant program through the Kansas Department of Transportation. It is the Kansas Local Bridge Improvement Program that helped fund these bridge replacements. The low bid by Reese Construction was, as read by Chairman Smith. We did have a second bid from Wildcat Construction of Topeka. So we did have two bidders on this project. I know that's been a concern in the past, but there are more or less just labor shortages in the bridge construction industry. The project has a notice to proceed date range from September 2nd to December 15th. We are on a very tight timeline to get all of the contracts executed here in the month of July prior to the expiration of our $2 million of funding without asking for an extension. Currently, we are on schedule to have that all completed without any issues. The funding was for up to 80% of construction engineering and the construction. So with the bids coming in where they were, we will actually not be able to use the full $2 million, and we'll be returning a little bit of that to the state's funds because the bids being $1.5 million and the construction engineering probably less than $200,000. We will get 80% of both of those reimbursed to the county after we pay for them. So we will have to pay for those and then have all those reimbursed. But better to have too much money, I guess, in this case. Bridges have gone way up in cost, and these were very competitive, approximately $750,000, just splitting it in half per bridge, which, as you guys know, the average cost over the last 5 years has been $1.2 million, just taking all bridges into consideration. So we're happy with the bids and look forward to getting the project started.
And I might note that this is an area that is being impacted by the battery plant in DeSoto, and that was part of the communication about these bridges going out. And we also are going to have, a growth area in the county, and they're very necessary that these bridges be replaced. So on that, do you want me to make a motion?
Anybody? Okay, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Motion to approve the bid by Reese Construction Company Incorporated and issue the notice of award for the replacement of bridges SH 54, SH 61 in the amount of $1,582,437.21.
I included that, Mike. We have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any more discussion? I'll start the roll call. Aye.
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 Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Hey, I know you are.
Thanks, Bill.
Number B, case DEV 25011, special use permit for Flatland Disposal LLC. The applicant has formally requested a withdrawal of the application. John, Amy.
Good morning.
Morning.
Right. This was just provided to you as formal notice that the application for Flatland has been withdrawn, so no further action is needed at this time.
I do have a question. So the application is withdrawn for any change or to proceed forward. What would be the process?
Well, Commissioner, the application would have to be remade to proceed. So at this time, there's nothing before the commission. I would not be surprised to see if another application in the near future.
But it would be a new application.
That's correct.
And it would have to go through the entire process.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I'm looking at this. No problem, I think we do that. But number C, is that two different issues? Or are they tied in together?
No, C is a different application.
Two different? Okay. Got a little confused by what I saw in there. Okay, very good. Number C, case DEV 25057, a rezoning request for RR5 and RR1.
All right. This application is a request to rezone the parcels 23326 and 00000 Reno Road from RR5 to R143. This is a unique situation. These parcels are part of the original Reno Township plat, so they are much smaller in size than you normally see within the county. It's currently zoned RR5. This property owner has a failing septic system on their current house. They acquired the parcel next door, and they would like to put the septic system on that parcel. That requires them to combine those parcels, and with their current zoning designation, they cannot do that.
Gotcha.
Now, there is another parcel within its notification area that was zoned to R143 back in 2014. Staff, while we are not necessarily recommending approval, we're not contesting this application, primarily because it does not conform with number 7, conformance to the comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission did consider this at their June meeting, and they have recommended approval to this body. So if you have any further questions, let us know.
But the other factors were considered, and they were all met.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Questions, concerns?
I just have a couple just to follow up. We know that that is in old Reno. So we discussed how it was potentially already platted if people want to come in and develop it.
Right. The impact is pretty minor. Geographically, it's a very, very small area, and it was platted in the 1800s, I believe. Yeah, that is the old town of Reno.
So concern among people is that whenever we do these 1 acre or whenever we lower it to a lower acreage zoning, then that sets a precedent, and then that can the adjacent property owners can then use that as a precedent to have 1 acre zoning. In this case, it's in the unincorporated city of Reno, so it probably that doesn't apply.
Extremely unlikely. This is a cluster of small lots amongst very large tracts. So, yeah, the impact is going to be relatively small.
So, well, makes sense to me.
Any other questions? I have no problem with this. Need a motion?
Motion to find the rezoning request complies with the golden factors and move the adoption of Resolution 2025-21 and approve the rezoning as outlined in case DEV 25057 based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission and finding as set forth in the staff report.
Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? Nope. I'll start the roll call. Aye.
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 Very good.
There you go.
Thank you.
Well, we did want to hear from you, but
No, I wouldn't get started.
I have not dealt with you before, but you shipped them all.
As I used to tell my police officers, the less you say, the better off you're going to be.
You know
So.
what? The older I yeah.
The older you get, the smarter you get.
He's like, Moss, I'm sure glad you didn't cross me and put your witness on us. Yes. Old enough now, I finally learned.
Thanks for coming.
Okay. Presentation discussion. We got budget discussion.
Yeah, Commissioners, I had asked that be on there because next week we'll be doing a lot of the budget meetings. Hopefully we can get them all concluded by the end of Thursday. Just wanted to remind you all that Wednesday afternoon and all day Thursday will be budget meetings with the departments. My intention is that the budgets that come forward will represent a flat mill levy. Still working on that in a few areas because of the challenge that the sheriff had presented to you earlier this year about the need to start setting aside money for the radio tower upgrades, replacements. So I'm trying to figure out how to work that into the budget and still maintain a flat mill levy, but I'm confident that we will do that. So the other thing you heard from outside agencies and the historical societies the last couple of weeks, I have included the requests in the budget from the organizations that have traditionally received funding at the level that they had received in the past. The new requests that came in, including the historical societies, because we haven't funded those for 2 years, will not be part of what you see next week. That'll be something that the Commission can decide if they want to add those requests or if they want to enhance any of the requests that came in. Again, I'm going to hold those at a flat level, just letting you know that's what will be presented, but obviously over the next month as we discuss the budget, you can decide if that's where you want to stay.
Okay.
That's really all I had, and any questions about how next week's going to go or anything else, I would be happy to answer those right now.
Is there anything that Commissioner Dunn or Commissioner Reed need to be aware of? That's the first time they're coming into it. Anything?
Typically,
or whatever,
Yeah. Typically, the way these budget meetings go is the departments come in, they present their budget to you, their requests, they talk about any enhancements that they're looking for, and then the commissioners we don't normally make decisions right then. It gives you a chance to kind of think about what they've presented and see if you have questions. Then for the next month and a half or so, we will have it on the agenda. So if you want something added, you just ask me. So like if we've presented a budget to you and you said, you know what, I'd really like, let's say, the HR department to come back in and talk about this again, we can do that. I just need a 1 week advance notice, but it'll be on the agenda every week. Even though it's on the agenda, there may be weeks we don't talk about the budget at all. I just do that in case it comes up. So next week is not the only opportunity you will have to meet with the departments, but it will be the only opportunity that I schedule until I have a request from you guys if you want additional meetings with departments. The actual budget will be approved in late August, which means we really have to approve it about 3 weeks before that because of the public hearing notice that's required. Next week, you will have on the agenda the revenue neutral notice because that's the state guideline. So next week, we will be asking you to approve a resolution that authorizes us to go above the revenue neutral rate, but it will, like I said, it will represent a flat mill levy, just not revenue neutral. Now, that doesn't mean we're tied to that. If for whatever reason the board, as we move through the budget process, decides they're going to reduce the levy down to revenue neutral, they could. But if you don't approve the resolution next week, you don't have a choice. It has to remain revenue neutral. So I wish the state would give us a little more time on that because it just doesn't even give us an opportunity to go through the budget before we even have to say whether it's revenue neutral or not.
Yeah.
They didn't put that much thought into it.
No, the whole system is backwards, honestly. I think the local control should stay local, and the Topeka politicians should stay statewide decisions and let the local control rest with the county commission and the city commission, school boards.
I think you'll get an argument from us on that one. Anybody have any questions? Mike, do you have a question? Go ahead.
A couple things, just on the outside agencies for the new commissioners. Since 2022, we have reduced outside agency funding by 33%. So there is a little room, in my view, and we can discuss it, but if we go up in our spending on the outside agencies, we can still leave it well below where it was in 2022 and still get some funding for some of the historical societies and some of these outside agencies. I think we have some room there because we had a philosophy that some of the commissioners wanted to completely eliminate funding from outside agencies, and that would have meant no funding for any of these causes, and I think the philosophy has changed a little. The second thing is we had a savings on Trap Rock, $1.2 million, and interest payment $800 and some thousand. How does that figure into as you're putting the budget together? How does that benefit the budget, or where does that all fit into where as you're preparing that budget?
Well, both of those items are in Road and Bridge, as you're aware. So it wouldn't impact our general fund operating. It would just stay in Road and Bridge. Since Road and Bridge is a standalone fund, local service road and Bridge, they deal with the maintenance and upkeep of the infrastructure. So it stays there. The commission over the last previous 2 years, put money into Road and Bridge funds to try to catch up on where we're so far behind. And then any savings obviously go there too. So that just allows some of the infrastructure, like some of the bridge projects that we've been waiting on to get done a little quicker. But it stays there. It does not help the rest of the budget. It stays in Road and Bridge.
All right. Then the last thing, just to comment on this revenue neutral. It's too bad where it falls in the process because we haven't even done our budget, and then we're being asked to make this decision on revenue neutral. In the past, sometimes we've discussed whether it's like a negotiating tool to try to get the budget level down, but it's really at a bad spot in the budget. And I wish they gave us a choice of revenue neutral or rate of inflation, because rate of inflation, if instead of just revenue neutral we said rate of inflation, that would more reflect what we're going to do with the budget, because our budgets tend to travel along with that inflation rate.
And some people may say, well, why don't you start the budget process earlier then? Why don't we do the budget process in May so you can have June and then do this? Well, we don't even get our valuations until the end of June. That's what's required. So it's hard to it would be hard to do a budget, decide whether you're going to go revenue neutral, and then find out what your valuation is after that. It just doesn't work. So I think that you have people who make a policy who have actually never went through a budget process at the local level.
Yep.
Otherwise, they would understand that it's just not workable what they're doing.
Exactly.
I get what they're trying to accomplish. I respect what they're trying to do. They just don't understand how that application works at the local level.
And you think they would have asked the counties before they passed a law, is this even possible? And they didn't even do that. So.
The other thing is with our valuation increases across the county, do we have any kind of an estimate on how that's going to impact our revenue?
Overall, if the mill levy stays flat, it'll be about a $2.1 million increase.
The increase of revenue to the county.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Anybody else? Any questions, Mark? Believe me, you'll get a head full when we start getting down to it. Okay.
Could I just say?
Oh, go ahead.
The last 3 years I've been on the school board, 2 of those we went at revenue neutral. But I think that what the taxpayers are looking for is to make sure that we don't have any waste and that we're being conservative in spending. But I think most people understand inflation as well. So I've not heard a lot of pushback about raising taxes even out of inflation. But I think, it's when we go over those kind of things that people feel like we're being exorbitant.
Well, I think since I know we don't want to get started, but I think in the last few years since the property tax and what's happening in the valuations on homes, it's just given the county, no matter where you are in the state, a bad name because it looks like we're setting those things up and we're really not doing it. We've made it a priority the last few years, which maybe we need to take another look of roads, bridges, and things like that because the funding is getting scarce. I agree with you on that. People just want to be able to be heard about what they think. None of us are always going to agree. Some of us like quality of life issues, some of us don't. But these budgets we've worked the last few years have been pretty doggone tight, and I'm sure with Mark and his pencil that he sharpens every year, it'll be the same thing. But it's going to be up to us to decide how we want to look at it. But I've heard the same thing, Vanessa.
And people want more services. They don't want less county services. They don't want less roads paved or maintained, etc. They don't want bridges closed, things like that. But they also need their property taxes to come down. The being taxed out of your home phrase is real, and so I think we do need to try to see where we can cut without reducing services and grow at the same time. So
I agree. I think the last 3-4 years, sometimes, and Mr. Dove can speak on this, sometimes by the time you come with a good idea like the lower property taxes or the formulas that these gentlemen have been up there and spoken on and you all have spoken on, it takes 3 or 4 years before it kicks in. So right now we're getting beat up on it, but the state has to do it, and every year I think this is going to be the year that we're going to get something. Well, we got elections next year, so I don't think people are going to stick around too much on these state reps if they do not finally do something. Every year we get something else will come out of committee or not come out of committee, but it's being discussed. We have to fix the property tax issue. It's the formula, or we're going to continue to lose people.
When we continually, in our Constitution, when we continue to have to vote on a representation at the state level every 2 years,
there's a problem.
That is a big problem because before you get anything done,
you have election again.
Election again, and everyone's and you're told when you go in the first place, when you're here on day 1, day 2 is you are actually campaigning.
Yep.
So that puts a bad taste in everyone's mouth if they're there for the right reason.
It's not fair to elected people because I remember in Lansing we used to do it every 2 years. In about 20 years, Mayor Bernard changed it with the people, and we changed it to 4 years. You don't want to be. You want to get things done, but at the same time too, if you shouldn't be as much, and we all are human, we shouldn't be so much concerned about if we're going to get reelected or are we going to do the right thing those 2 years we're in there. And that's sometimes hard to do because if you feel like if you're not in there doing it, you'll never get the right thing done. So that 2-year thing, I've always disagreed with, really.
It should be 4 years.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
There's only one way to change that, and that's change the Constitution.
That's right. And it seems by the time we get somebody who want to do it, they get voted out or they don't run. So we have to start all over again. Sound like EMS or something. I don't know. Anything else?
No.
Okay, Mark.
I-
Go ahead, Mark. What is that?
I did have a couple questions. Can you tell us, and maybe you don't have the final figures, but we raised the mill 1.8 mils last year, mostly to repair our roof on our building here. What's the progress on that, and do we have updated estimates, and are we in line as far as what we have coming in to make that happen, and just where are we at on the roof?
Well, Commissioners, last year during the budget, you did enhance for 1 mil for road and bridge and about 1/8 of a mil, or 0.8 of a mil for the courthouse repairs. That estimate is not here yet. It's out for bid right now, so we don't have the third phase of the roof project. We don't have those numbers yet. But I am 100% confident that what we did last year will address the issue with the courthouse. Like we discussed last year when we did that, it's the amount of time, right? So we will fund the repairs of the courthouse without issuing debt. We will repay the funds that we take that from. So we're going to take that out of our capital reserve funds to pay for it when it comes in. And then we will repay those funds with the money coming in from that mill levy over time. So whether it's a 3-year repayment or a 5-year repayment is the only thing that will make a difference when the bids actually come in. So we will do it the right way. We'll make sure that everything gets fixed that needs to be fixed. And I don't want to fix something and then come back in 2 years and tell you we have to do this again. Yeah. So we have the entire courthouse grounds being evaluated, and once we get the bids in, once we get all the work done, then we'll determine how many years it's going to take for that mill levy to stay in place in order to refund what we've paid. But we will not. We won't need to go. It won't need to go higher.
All right. And the second question is, as you're doing the sheriff's budget and working on that, are we going to establish a fund, or what's your thinking on this radio situation?
Well, my personal opinion, and this is something we're going to discuss next week, but I can tell you now, I think that the money should go into the 911 fund. And the reason I say that is the 911 fund is one of those specific funds. If the money goes in, it has to be used for that project only. Correct. It can't be used for something else. You can't use it for cars or anything else. Not that we would, but it's very specific, and therefore any money that goes in there must be used for that. So my recommendation would that we make a transfer from the general fund into the 911 fund annually. This year it would be the $500,000 for that set aside that they're asking for. That it goes straight to the 911 fund. It's the challenge. Obviously, is this a new expenditure? And in a year where we're trying to be as frugal as we can, $500,000 is $500,000. So I just have to find a way to make that happen in the budget and maintain a flat mill levy. Okay. And by the way, that is over and above the inflation rate. So that's when we talk about inflation, I agree. Inflation is important to follow. Our inflation hits us a little differently than you at home. First of all, I think the numbers that have been put out over the last 4 years are completely bogus. I can't think of anything in my life that has matched the rate of inflation that the federal government has said inflation is. I'm pretty sure my expenditures are higher, and it hits the county even worse because heavy equipment. We've seen prices triple over the last 4 years in heavy equipment, and that's probably on the low side, maybe more than triple. And we have a 1.5-year waiting period, so we have to order stuff 2 to 3 years out in order to get it here on time. Oil and gas, those things, waver regardless, but they still usually outpace inflation, and those are our biggest expenditures. So, but we try to live within it. The last year, like you said, we made an exception to that. The board added 1.8 mils, 1.88 something mils, 1 mil for the road and bridge to try to catch up again on what we've been behind on, and then the courthouse repairs. But we try to stay at the inflation rate as much as possible.
Good point. Okay. Just one thing. Yesterday, I had the honor to speak to the International Military Day, represent the county commissioners up there. Always a unique experience. I saw there. It's always unique to meet with all the officers from all over the world, and things that we take for granted or things that we say sometimes they don't understand. It goes both ways. But I've done that for quite a few years, and it's just quite enjoyable to do. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak up there. Of course, I saw a commissioner up there too. So I have. Mr. Dove, you have anything?
Nothing.
Vanessa? What?
Quiet.
Okay. Jeb?
Nope.
Mike? Anything else? Need a motion to adjourn then?
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Aye?
Aye.
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 Aye. Good meeting. Thank you, folks. Everybody have a good day.